We are going to jump right to the Oxmoor Ford Lincoln Buzzline. We've got a guest on from CuseNation.com, part of the Scout.com network there, Dan Tortora. Dan, how you doing this morning?
Doing well, guys. How you doing out there in Kentucky?
You know, it's cold, but it's a beautiful day today. Hey, how's it in the Northeast?
Well, I don't know what the definition of cold is in Kentucky. I think we set that definition up here in the Arctic Circle. So it's snowing, and it's staying pretty cold out here, as always.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be 50 as a high today, so we're all right.
It's going to be great. I'm actually going to go golfing after the show. So it's not too cold. I'm not going to lie to you, Dan. But again,
polar bear swimming after we talk. So.
Oh, actually, John, we have our polar bear plunge at the Ohio River coming up soon as well. I think it's next month, so I might take part of that. It's supposed to be cold. I don't know. It's a charity event. I'll think about it. I got a month. But again, Dan Tortora, CuseNation.com. We're talking to him, previewing today's Louisville-Syracuse game, of course. Let's get right into it, Dan. I wanted to first mention that obviously James Sutherland. He's out. He's we don't really know how long he will be out for. What's going on there, and how is Syracuse going to kind of move forward, maybe against Louisville without him, and after the Cards?
Well, James Sutherland, I think in games like Arkansas, people see the fact that he can be this prolific scorer and can be a very strong part of the offense for Syracuse. But the one thing with Sutherland is that he's not consistent. I think if we were talking right now today about, Dan, what do they do without C.J. Fair? If I was asked that question, it's a totally different world because you're playing consistency versus a few good games. I think Syracuse can survive without him. Do I think that somebody needs to step up from long range? Absolutely. You've seen Brandon Trish hit a couple. You've seen Michael Carter-Williams hit a few. But really, Trevor Cooney is the guy that's going to have to step up because that's his specialty. I think without Sutherland, Syracuse can find a way to win because last season when Syracuse went to the KFC Yum Center, they had Sutherland at that time, and he only scored 4 points and was a non-factor. So, as far as the future, you want to have him back because he is one of the best six-mans in the country, but at the same time, consistency isn't always there, so I think that they can move forward without him as opposed to some of the other guys like a C.J. Fair.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Syracuse is deep as always. Jim Boeheim always has a loaded roster. It's going to be fun. You mentioned Brandon Trish. I like the matchup of Brandon Trish and Russ Smith. Who's going to score more points? Who's going to lead their team? I think, in my opinion, that is one of the keys to who wins this game is the shooting because obviously whoever plays Syracuse, everybody knows the zone. You can't have a high percentage shooting game. If Louisville comes out hitting shots, I think Louisville wins. But if they don't, I think there's a potential upset for Syracuse. Now, what are they going to do, I guess, to kind of hold the scoring of Russ Smith down? And what's their game plan against Louisville?
Well, Boeheim has stayed the same in almost 40 years. That 2-3 zone is what he likes. I mean, obviously, Louisville knows how to run that 2-3 if they need to at times. They've pressed before. I think one good thing that Syracuse is instituting at times is the full court press, and Boeheim's doing it a lot earlier in games. So I think that, if you are seeing that prolific scoring from Russ Smith or from Peyton Siva, and obviously, Smith and Siva have both been playing very well this season. There's a reason why Siva was voted preseason and Player of the Year in the Big East. So, I think to counterattack that, if there's going to be those issues early on with scoring, I think you might see the full court press come out. But I think the big thing to understand is that Boeheim's all about movement in the 2-3 zone. The only way that he knows how to beat teams and that he puts out there is that zone. It's really never changed for him, and I think that that's something that they're going to utilize. But on the side of Louisville, this is a team that's taking about 20 attempts from long range per game, and a lot of the time connecting on those shots, making at least 7 of them. So Syracuse, if Louisville starts shooting well, they're definitely going to have to get Trish and C.J. Fair at the same time down low, and of course the guys like Cooney and Michael Carter-Williams very involved on the top of that zone because obviously, Louisville's a team that can shoot, and Syracuse has had some trouble with teams that have been able to turn on early, like the Providence game, like the South Florida game, where they came out scoring from long range rather rapidly.
Absolutely. Dan, what does this game mean to Syracuse? They obviously beat San Diego State, who was ranked at the beginning of the season, but after that, there wasn't any ranked team before that. This is their first ranked team since the San Diego State game. What does this mean to Syracuse's season? Is this up there, is this going to be a game that's going to prove something for the fans?
Well, I think that when you're Syracuse or any team, you want to prove that you can beat the best. And right now, the country has decided that that's what Louisville is. I mean, these are two teams with the same record overall at 16-1, same record in the Big East at 4-0. So, I think that a game like this could really tell who's going to be at the top. I mean, we'll know who'll be at the top of the Big East after this game. But, I think not just the fact that they're a ranked team, but because of how well Louisville plays against Syracuse and vice versa, how big of a matchup this has become, and this will carry on into the ACC, then I think this is a statement game, and this is a statement that Syracuse, if they do win this game, can go up against the best of the country. And I think that there's still some people that are unsure of that. I think Syracuse came out to a strong start, but that Temple game definitely showed that there are some mistakes that have to be corrected moving forward.
Well, yeah, again, that's just the way, every game goes. Every team can't be, everybody knows that, every team can't play their best at every night. Again, we have Dan Tortora of CuseNation.com on the line right now, part of the Scout Network. Dan, you kind of mentioned it there, the rivalry kind of move into the ACC. I kind of wanted to mention Jim Boeheim versus Pitino, the respect for each other. I know you remember the comments made maybe a few weeks ago, a month ago back. What do you think about those comments between Boeheim and Pitino, and is it more of just to keep the rivalry at the top?
Well, I was in the room when a lot of comments were made at Big East Media Day down in New York City, and it's interesting because one thing I could say about Rick Pitino is and it's a scary thing because he's so comfortable so late in his career and so relaxed to say whatever he wants and to say how he feels, and you got to respect him for that. But, the back and forth between going to the ACC and jabs and how Syracuse could be replaced by Memphis, which I don't think is true at all, that back and forth honestly ended with Louisville going to the ACC. And so, Jim Boeheim had made the statement, if Rick had the chance, he would do the same thing that I did. And, of course, history has shown that Rick did the exact same thing when he had the opportunity to move. So, I think that these guys will jar back and forth. I think there's a mutual respect there. And at the end of the day, no matter who said what when, they're both going to the ACC, and we're going to see a lot more of this rivalry moving forward.
Yeah, Dan, I'm actually the Kentucky guy here. John is the Louisville guy. Obviously, Rick Pitino, former coach of Kentucky. I know where you're coming from. He is definitely more lax in his older age. He's a fun Rick. I have no hate towards Rick for leaving and going to Boston and coming to Louisville. I enjoy Rick. I enjoy, like you said, what he'll just say anything. Kind of like Boeheim, they both say anything. I enjoy watching those two go at it, even as an outsider. I did want to say this is the first game between the two teams since being in the Big East that they've been undefeated in Big East play, both being 4-0. That's kind of odd, being how many good teams they've had all year. Dan, I guess my last question before we let you go here is, who do you think wins the game today?
Well, I think Syracuse is going to have a fight up against them. Even though reporting for CuseNation.com, people know me to always be impartial and always be very honest. I think this is going to be a very difficult game. Syracuse pulled it out with the 2-3 zone last time, and in almost 4 minutes to end the game did not allow Louisville to score. They're going to have to do similar things to that, but I think it's going to be a tight matchup, and I'm edging on the side of Louisville right now, 72, I would say, to 69.
Yeah, that's a pretty, fair game, pretty fair prediction there. Louisville has to go up to Syracuse, later in the year, March 2nd, I believe. So, it would probably be a same outcome score-wise, maybe opposite winner. Well, Dan, I'll let you go ahead and get back to that crisp, warm weather up there you're enjoying. And and I hope you enjoy the game today, and good luck to your Cuse Nation.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you, gentlemen. And definitely check out CuseNation.com. We actually have 5 things to know about Louisville up there right now, so you could take a look into our preview and for the Louisville Cardinal fans, see what we have out there about your team. But definitely going to be a good game, and I appreciate you guys having me on this morning.
Thanks for coming on, Dan. Again, CuseNation.com. That's cool. Get on there, check that out, Card fans. 5 things to know about yourself, I guess, is, usually you see the outsiders like John on our site, KentuckySports.co, or, our guy Nick Coffey at the CardinalConnect.com, the local blog sites saying, know your enemy type thing. Well, guess what? Now you get to kind of know yourself from an outsider standpoint. Check that out, John. John, we'll pull that up on a break and kind of read over what they're saying about the cards. 384-1450, the Oxmoor Ford Lincoln Buzz line. If anybody wants to get in and talk about today's games, do so. 414-1450, the Lotus Gunworks text line. I also wanted to mention, if you want to watch our beautiful mugs, KentuckySports.co/TV live, sportscaster.com. It's our new broadcasting website we have launched. It's awesome.
Yeah, if you have a podcast or if you would like to start a podcast, you can get on live sportscaster.com. It's free.
Free.
You can sign up for free.
I love free.
Become, we started off as a podcast.
Right here,
Look
John.
at us now.
Right here. We started off as – we're still nobodies. We started off as nobodies, but we're still nobodies. But, we did it our own thing here in the basement of the Keisco compound, and now we've got a great show going on. We're Duke and Ryan, we talk, obviously 1450. It's great being with 1450 the Sports Buzz, and now being a little combo TV radio show. It's fantastic. It's livesportscaster.com if you're interested in your own show. Absolutely free.